And welcome to a special edition here on 757 Sports Talk. Our guest is none other than the one and only Michael Cuddyer, former Major League Baseball All-Star, Silver Slugger Award winner, and a batting champion. They've got the third Annual All-Tidewater Classic coming up, presented by Michael Cuddyer this coming Monday, June the 10th at War Memorial Stadium. You see it right there on the screen. Southside versus Peninsula Private High School Baseball Showcase, presented in part by Town Bank as well. It's going to be at War Memorial Stadium in Hampton. Gates opening up at 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock. And if you got the fancy schmancy technology that I'm sure Mike and I aren't even all that, know how to use, you can take the QR code, get your tickets beforehand, search All Tidewater Classic, get your tickets at the gate as well, alltidewaterclassic.org. How you doing, my friend? Good to see you.
I'm doing wonderful. Appreciate you having me on.
That's our pleasure. Well, before we get started about this All Tidewater Baseball Classic, what it means to you being involved in the community and the sports that you grew up and love so much in baseball, America's pastime, and we'll also touch a little bit on the big leagues going on right now and your Twins. I got to ask you about this shortstop by the name of Casey Cuddyer, sophomore for the Wildcats. I hear he's going to be a pretty good one.
He had a good year this year. He definitely did. He's earned his spot on this team, and it's fun watching him play, and it's fun being a dad, and kind of a full circle moment for me. And, to be able to watch him kind of make his own identity and create his own identity in the sport and at Great Bridge High School and in the community has been a lot of fun. So I'm excited for him to play in this game. He's excited, and, he's definitely earned it. There's no question about that.
That's pretty cool. I was watching the news one night, and I saw some highlights come across the TV. I was like, they might give Pops a little run for his money. And if I'm not mistaken, too, you've got his twin daughters as well, right?
Twin 12-year-old girls as well, yes.
Okay.
So Chloe and Maddie.
So staying pretty busy with athletics. It's great to see that they're having an impact. Well, let's go back to flashback to your playing days before you got to the big leagues, if you can. You didn't really have many things like this. I know you had some great influences, and certainly travel baseball is prevalent. You grew up in an era where it was such a special, unique time for players yourself. Ryan Zimmerman, David Wright, the Uptons, the list of greats that have come out of the 757 goes on, and people know so much about them. It's been well documented in some books, documentaries, I'm sure more in years to come. But what's this mean for you now to be a part of something this special that gives back to the community and has the chance for these youngsters to be recognized for their hard work and their talents?
Yeah, well, like you mentioned, we didn't really have these types of all-star games, so to speak. But All Tidewater to me was one of the biggest accomplishments that I had up to that point in my life. When you make, whether it was all district or all region or all state, your picture didn't get put in the paper, and if it did, it was black and white. All Tidewater was the one and the only one where you got a full spread and it was a colored picture of yourself in the paper. So being All Tidewater at the time was huge, and it made a huge impact on me. So now fast forward 25 years or so, and when I was approached with the idea of creating an All Tidewater game, I felt like it was only natural because, one thing that is kind of lost in amateur sports, youth sports these days is that civic rivalry and civic togetherness. With the advent of travel sports, and there is a place for travel sports, don't get me wrong, local teams, players, they tend to travel, go to North Carolina, Georgia, Florida, wherever it may be to find competition, when we have a lot of really good players and a lot of really good competition around here. So to be able to showcase these high school players for the unbelievable high school season that they had, and allow them to be on the field together and have that camaraderie amongst each other to be able to share in a moment was a no-brainer for me to join on forces with.
What's been the reaction that you've received here now in year 3 of this from the coaches, B, the fans / parents, and then C, the players? What's the feedback been like from? I imagine it's all been positive, right?
It definitely has. The coaches, they do a great job of nominating the players that they feel is worthy of making an All Tidewater team, as they've done in the past. And they've done a really good job of encouraging the players to play in the game, which is big, because everybody, it's hard to come up with a perfect date Some teams are coming off of state championship runs, and it means a lot to me for these players to commit to playing in the game, and hopefully we give them a good experience. Last year, we heard nothing but positive reviews from the players, and the way that we handled the reception banquet, and then the game the next day. And then obviously for the younger generation and the kids, it's a tremendous opportunity to come out and you can watch the players that you aspire to be one day, sign or get your autograph signed, run the bases, and just enjoy a night out, a family night out at the ball game, watching high school sports, not necessarily, obviously not professional sports, but being able to watch players that these young kids are going to be in this same position in the not too distant future. So it's a lot of fun.
Although they've tweaked the Major League All-Star game, Michael, I feel like baseball's All-Star game has gotten it better than the other sports. We hear all today about the NBA All-Star game, and they start doing international, and Pro Bowl for football has gone away. Hockey's a little different too. I feel like there's bragging rights. Tell me if I'm wrong. When you were a player, I'm sure when you're back at that Great Bridge, you wanted to say, all right, we played the best brand of baseball in Chesapeake, or our school in the Southeastern District. I mean, that matters to these kids, right? Whether you're a public school, private school, Southside, Peninsula, they want to kind of show that they are the best, right?
Absolutely. Anytime there's competition out on the field, whoever's competing wants to show that they're the best. So that's kind of why we've formatted it the way we have. It worked last year. The Peninsula private school team, the Peninsula/private school team went out and took it to the Southside. They beat them last year, and so they got a leg up in the format. They're 1-0 and looking to defend their home turf this year with the game being in Hampton.
For you, take me back to we will get to for your big league career. Any moments from when you played a high school baseball game or two, or special thing? Because I know they had back when you played, it was VHSL All-Star game, right? So
yeah, I never played. I never had that, so I don't know if it wasn't around, or if it, maybe I didn't get invited. I don't know. Okay. But there wasn't a state All-Star game. Gotcha. They had obviously the teams and announced the teams, but there was never a game to actually play in.
What are a couple of the games or moments or memories that you remember from your prep days that, even they didn't necessarily propel you on to that level that you reached in stardom in the big leagues, certainly stick out as defining moments or great memories that you have?
Sure. Well, one of them that kind of shaped my humility, so to speak. And it's funny, we actually have Norby Wilson is going to be honored this year, and he's going to throw out the first pitch as we kind of honor the past and the great coaches and the great players that we've had in Tidewater. Well, my freshman year in 1994, we locked up with First Colonial in the regional semifinals, and I was a freshman. I had a good season up to that point. I think I was 8-0. And I got the start on the mound and got the first pitch, first out, no problem. And I think I had 10 hitters and 9 runs later, and I got out number 2. So came out of that game pretty quickly, went to shortstop. We ended up coming back, and the score was around 15-11 in the 4th. And Martin Oliver was our head coach. He put me back on the mound, and I proceeded to give up 7 more earned runs. So that, needless to say, knocked me back down to earth, kind of popped my bubble, and made me realize that I'm probably not as good as I thought I was at that point.
Sure. That's pretty interesting back in those days for you. As you get to the big leagues and you look back on some things that you accomplished, I mentioned the 2-time All-Star, Silver Slugger Award, NL batting champ. Being in the Hall of Fame for the Twins, that had to be a really cool deal for you, and surreal to say, you did all this hard work, the grind from the travel days, high school days, getting up. That had to be something like, wow, this is something you hear all the time, I think, from other big leaguers or people that are in Hall of Fames. They can never take it away from you.
Yeah, no, absolutely. You don't play this game for individual accolades. I played this game because I had a passion to play the game. I loved playing the game. I loved the sport. But to be able to be recognized for your hard work, for the dedication, I don't want to call it sacrifices, because I don't feel like I sacrificed much. I feel like everything I did, I wanted to do. So in my mind, that's not a sacrifice, but it is time spent away from a lot of other things that I could have and probably should have devoted to. but to be recognized for doing that, extremely special, and especially with an organization that drafted me, taught me how to play baseball, taught me how to play professional baseball with all the player development and coaches that I was fortunate enough to come in contact with throughout my early career and then big league career. That it's just as much of a accolade for them as it was for me, because without them, there's no way that I would have been able to be the player that I was and the person that I became.
And you bring up a great name like Norby Wilson and your coach, like Martin Oliver. We think of Tony Townsend, the late great Tony Townsend, so many that have been influences across the entire Tidewater landscape, Michael, as you well know, in the sport of baseball. I'm sure you know it now. Playing career is over and you got a youngster and you're watching the sport and you're so still involved and invested with it. But did you know growing up, a part of that golden era with the Uptons and yourself and Zim and others, that you all were a part of something unique at that time? And when you got to the big leagues, did you ever hear it from other places about, wow, that 757 Tidewater area is producing a lot of baseball talent? Kind of take me back to those times if you can.
Yeah, I mean, I think it started for me with Jimmy Anderson when he was drafted by the Pirates my freshman year, and understanding that, somebody from this area, a local kid, could get drafted and play professional baseball. And then I was able to 3 years later get drafted in the first round. And then it kind of took off from there with John Curtis, my teammate, getting drafted in the first round. And then it was David and BJ and Justin and Ryan Zimmerman, Mark Reynolds, and all these guys that not only did they make it to the major leagues, they were all-stars in the major leagues and franchise cornerstones for the teams that they played with. And yeah, there was nobody more proud of this area than me. I was constantly bragging to my teammates that, here we are in this relatively small area producing all of these players that are tearing it up in the major leagues. So no, I was extremely proud, still am extremely proud. And one of the reasons why I've never left and still call Chesapeake home.
A few minutes here with Michael Cuddyer, the former Major League Baseball All-Star, Minnesota Twins Hall of Famer. They've got the third annual All-Tidewater Classic coming up this Monday, June the 10th at War Memorial Stadium. It is 757 Sports Talk. Like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel through CoVA Sports TV and all over the web. Michael, as you look at baseball now, I'd ask you, how's it changed? Well, the first thing that comes to mind is some of these rule changes with obviously the shift, and now we've got a ghost runner on second base, which I don't know how you feel about it. We've had Tim Kirchin on our show of ESPN. I know he hates it. I don't like it. My co-host doesn't like it too much. Give me your thought on where the sport is now. And it's crazy. We just had Tim on last week talking about you might have arguably, and there's so many great hitters, you might have the two best hitters in each league on the same team potentially with Ohtani and Betts with the Dodgers, Judge and Sutton with the Yankees. And then there's a lot of other guys that are right there knocking on their door, whether you're talking about Jose Ramirez in the same division as your Twins, what a year they're having, the AL Central in general, Kansas City. It's just so many neat storylines to follow in the sport. Give me kind of your sense of where we are in the big leagues for baseball at the moment.
Oh, absolutely. The talent is incredible. Everybody's faster, stronger, throws harder, hits them further. So the talent and they're exciting, and they all have their flair for the game. So watching the game, watching the product on the field and the players that we're putting out there for Major League Baseball is extremely exciting. As far as the rule changes, the extra inning rule, I'm not very big fan of, but the other ones, incorporating more base running, more base stealing, I like those. I wish I got to run the bases with some of these rules, to be honest with you. So I do like those. I love the pitch clock, and I did not think I was going to love the pitch clock until I went to spring training last year. And the first game of spring training, I think there was 12 runs scored, and I think there was 10 walks and 14 hits, and the game was over in 2 hours and 45 minutes. I thought I was on board. I signed me up for that any day of the week. So the players are going to adapt to that. I think they already have. I think it's a quicker product, and fans are more engaged because of that. So I'm excited. I'm excited with the way and the direction baseball is headed. And, I think there's a lot of parity to speak in the game. And I think that just causes a lot of fun moments there at the end here when you finally do get to September.
Yeah, just to follow up on that for a moment, I'm curious and you have a youngster now, what you tell kids nowadays with some of the adapting. You hear it all the time in basketball when a kid goes from high school to AAU and college, how they deal with the shot clock, with the pitch clock, and then some of the rule changes. What's been your advice to youngsters, whether it be hitters or pitchers for that matter, because it also affects not just the ones, in the batter's box, but also on the hill, and then those having to play defense in the field, be it infield, outfield. What's been your message with some of the rule changes, and do you think it's that big of a deal with some of the things as far as the lower levels, below the minor leagues and in the high school ranks and below? Has it affected the sport much, and more so positively than negatively? What's your take of it?
Well, it hasn't trickled down yet into high school baseball and lower. It is in college baseball, but it hasn't. The pitch clock and whatnot hasn't trickled down to high school. I think it maybe will and maybe should. But high school baseball is typically a quicker game anyway, as far as the lull is concerned. There's not as much stepping out of the box. There's not as much pacing around the mound. So it's not as long of a game as far as the dead time. So, but eventually it could. And I think the pitch clock again and pickoff rules, it promotes a lot of action within the game. So maybe it will find itself into the amateur side of it, of baseball. But one thing it would be really hard to track, every big league stadium, professional stadium, collegiate stadium, there's a big clock. You're not going to be able to go out there and put a clock on every single youth field, which might make it tough to be able to track those types of things. But, we'll see. Maybe it will one day. Yeah,
for sure. Before we let you run a couple more, I want to hit on with you here. And, looking at the sport now, any couple of guys that you enjoy watching, hitters out there, maybe a couple of guys with the Twins you enjoy watching? How about when you put on a game with your family, you're watching with your buddies, whoever it might be, that you just really love their approach at the plate and the way they play the game?
Well, one of my favorite players, and it's unfortunate, he's back now, but it's unfortunate that he has had a lot of bad strings of bad luck with injuries, is Royce Lewis. And, the excitement that he plays the game with, he never gets down on himself. He's never feels sorry for himself. Here's a guy who has torn an ACL in both knees, comes into the first game of the year this year, hits a home run and pulls his quad. And, he comes back last night for his first game back at Yankee Stadium and hits another home run. So he's an extremely exciting player, one that I really, really enjoy watching, and a tremendous person, a great human being, which is easy guys to root for.
Yeah, it's funny. Your Twins can maybe make a real run at this thing, Michael, because I look at that AL Central, the Royals, the Guardians, that whole, obviously the AL East with the Yankees and Orioles. If somebody just could take the Yankees out for them, that's just the one team they don't match up with.
Yeah.
How it goes in baseball. Sometimes a team has a team's number. It feels like the Twins can beat just about anybody but the Yankees, it seems like. That's just the one matchup that's been their bugaboo lately.
You don't have to tell me. I was on that team when we beat them in 2004. In game one of that ALDS, and then I was on every team since that didn't win. So, it's just one of those things, and there's nothing you can really explain. They just have the Twins number. It's really the only thing you can chalk it up to.
Yeah, last two, let you run. Anything, we've touched on some of the rule changes, anything you'd like to see looked at for the sport, be it at the professional level? You mentioned college baseball. We got the Omaha College World Series coming up, minor leagues, the high school levels. Anything you'd like to see addressed in the sport? It could be even in Virginia with baseball, and obviously this big event coming up, the All Tidewater Classic, is such a celebration for all these athletes all across our great 757 area code. Anything you'd like to see maybe looked at that can help improve the sport further from your perspective?
Oh, it's funny when I get that question. Yeah, there's obviously a lot of things that I think can be looked at, and a lot of things that I think that could be addressed, and issues that could be addressed, especially in the youth specter and the amateur specter. But I don't really have any good solutions. So it's tough to bring up problems without solutions. But I wish there was a little more uniformity within the youth landscape of baseball. I wish there weren't so many different conglomerates to have to contend with as far as these kids, because a lot of these kids don't know what tournaments to play in, where to go, what team to play on. There's not really any unity within the youth sector of baseball. Again, I don't have an answer to that. I don't know how to get everybody on the same page, or if it's even possible to get everybody on the same page. But I think that is a glaring issue that we have within our sports at the amateur level.
And lastly, to close up with you, and we thank you so much for the time here at All Tidewater Baseball Classic coming up at War Memorial Stadium this Monday, June the 10th. Hey, any Little Leagues travel team players out there, wear your jersey. You get in free. Youth kids, 5 to 12, it's $5. Adults, $10. Go out there, enjoy yourself. Have a hot dog, a drink, enjoy it with the family, your friends. Watch these future stars of tomorrow, the future Cudyers and Reynoldses and Zimmermans of the world. You never know who might be out there that you'll get a chance to track one day and say, I saw him in the All Tidewater Classic. What's the summer looking like for you? You got this big event Monday, which I'm sure you're looking forward to. You can tell the fans out there what you're expecting. But for the summer for the Cuddyer family, anything on deck here? Any visits? Any places you're going to? What's on the agenda for you?
Well, it's at least the first 6 weeks is a lot of baseball. It's my son with his travel team, and I actually help coach that. So a lot of baseball, and hopefully we get to spend some quality time together as a family in between.
Okay, so you're coaching now. Please don't tell me you get thrown out though. You don't go crazy like the skippers sometimes do you?
Fortunately, I have not been thrown out yet.
Okay, keep that number in check there. That's the main key. Well, it should be a great time out there on Monday, June the 10th at War Memorial Stadium. Southside versus Peninsula Private High School Baseball Showcase presented by Michael Cuddyer and the great folks at Town Bank. Get your tickets. GoFan.co. Scan the code, the QR code, and it'll be an awesome time out there to recognize these hardworking student athletes for their achievements on the diamond. Michael, always a pleasure catching up with you. Look forward to talking with you down the road again, and it should be a fun run to the Fall Classic in October, and all the best to you and your youngster and everyone involved.
Yep, you as well. Appreciate you having me, and hope to see a lot of people out there on Monday night.
Going out there Monday to War Memorial Stadium in Hampton for the 3rd Annual All-Tidewater Classic presented by our special guest today, Michael Cuddyer. We'll take a timeout. We've got more coming your way on 757 Sports Talk. Right now, though, we're going to take a timeout and hear from some of the sponsors that make it possible for us to talk with you each and every week. From the Plex, like, share, and subscribe to CoVA Sports TV. Back in just a bit. Thank you for watching.